Hello, and welcome back to the Maybe I Can podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Weiss, and thank you so much for joining me today. You know, many podcast hosts are little more professional than I am, I guess I would say. They have a thought out plan. They record their episodes in advance. They have guests. They have a nice studio. They show up with, if you're watching on YouTube, with, done up with their makeup and their hair, not like I'm looking like today. And I realized, and now it's been a little over 2 years since I've been doing this podcast, and I kind of now just give myself grace. That is not for me. I do this podcast so that I can just share what's on my mind and my heart in the moment. And I literally just record a couple of days beforehand, typically, just so that it's whatever I feel like talking about this week. And so this week just came to me actually yesterday. I want to talk about designing a life you love. And the reason that this came up is because I was scrolling through some social media, Instagram or Facebook most likely, and I saw posts about kids going back to college. One of my team members just moved their daughter back into her school this past weekend. And I was feeling a little kind of melancholy over the fact that my youngest, Ben, we're done with that. He graduated in May. It's hard to believe that it's already months later. And he had such a wonderful college experience. And I was excited that he was graduating, but then also sad. And over the summer, and let me just say, he currently does not yet have a job. He's working on that. And, well, I'll go back to what I was just thinking. I was going to say his idea of what a job should be and mine are a little bit different. And I'll explain that in a little while. At first, I thought to myself, how sad that that part of his life is over. That wonderful college experience is over. And now, what's he stepping into? Adulthood. And the first thing that crossed my mind is, the responsibilities, the money, the 9 to 5, the worries, the whole thing. As a kid, you can't wait to be an adult and live on your own and not have to listen to anybody else's rules. And then when you get there, you think, oh man, I didn't realize this is what it is. And I was thinking that way because that's what was ingrained in my mind. And that's really my experience, my memory when I look back. That is the lens in which I look. And then I had to stop myself and say, hey, wait a second. That's the old Debbie talking. That's the old Debbie's mindset. What about the fact that he has his whole life in front of him to map it out and to dream and do whatever it is that he wants to do? But it's just, I don't think, how our culture works. It's all about success. It's all about money. I can see as his friends are getting jobs and looking for jobs, it's like, well, how much does that pay? How much does that pay? And even my son said, well, Mom, that only pays blah, 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 whatever the amount was. And I said to him, who cares, Ben? Who cares how much it pays? You want to try and do something that you love. You are looking to get a job that sounds interesting to you and get some experience and find out, hey, is this something that lights me up? What is it about this job I don't like? And what is it that I do like? And then move on from there. You're just starting out. Money will come. It's not all about the money. And I know that I felt that way. Oh my goodness. I remember when I graduated from college, And I was an accountant and I got a job in a small accounting firm. And I don't know why I remember this exact amount, but I made $16,100 a year. And my cousin, who had not gone to college and had been working, I think, 3 years more than I had, was making $30,000. And I thought that was amazing. If only I was making $30,000, then I could fill in the blank. I think at the time it was probably buy a car, live in a nicer apartment, take a vacation, And I always, I think I always was chasing that number and doing that whole comparison thing instead of tapping into what I love to do. And I did enjoy things about my accounting career, and it was great because I learned what I liked and what I didn't like. And I did it for 10 years, and then I opened up my insurance agency, which was something that I never, I don't know, who dreams of being an insurance agent? Maybe there's people out there, but not me. But there are things about it. Now it's been over 30 years doing that, and there's things about it I love, and there's things about it that I don't. And I think that's why when I turned 50, I started to look and say, what can I do that really lights me up, that I'm meant for, that doesn't feel like work, that feels exciting, something that I want to be doing all the time, something that I don't pay attention to the clock, right? I'm not always looking, thinking, oh gosh, it's only 11 in the morning, only, another hour till lunch, or it's 3 o'clock, this day is dragging. You know what I'm talking about. You know that feeling. And look, we all have days like that, regardless of if we do something for a living that we love or we don't. But I really saw the difference once I started stepping into this new vision and this new dream. And it's really what has inspired me to keep going. Even when I've changed paths and directions, it has always been exciting, and I've, for the most part, enjoyed the work. Look, with any job, there's things you don't want to do. That's just a part of life. But if there's 20% of what you want to do and 80% of what you love to do, that's not bad. Based on what the flip side could be, 20% of what you love and 80% of what you don't. I've talked to several other moms that have kids similar age, and a couple of them are disappointed that their, I'm going to say sons because I've spoken to boy moms, haven't taken that traditional 9 to 5 path. Nowadays, it's so much easier to create the life you love. And I think these parents who are of similar age to me, they're in that mindset that you get a job with a big company and you put in your time and you do the 9 to 5 and you move up the ranks and you get retirement benefits and you get vested and all the things that it used to be. But the fact is, those days are gone. In those early days, there was security in working for big companies for your entire career. And I know a few people who've done that. And I also know someone who, after 30 years, got laid off, right? There is no security in that anymore. It doesn't work the same way. Times are changing. As we know, they're changing very quickly with, with AI. We don't know where things are going. And I feel that why shouldn't these kids try something they're excited about, even if it's not that 9 to 5 job? So let me give you a couple of examples. One of my older son's friends, he graduated from a very good public university with a degree in computer science about a year and a half ago, maybe. And he has not been working that typical 9 to 5. Instead, he actually has a Pokemon card business. I know it sounds crazy. It sounded ridiculous to me. I could not believe how much money some of these cards are worth. And this kid has done his homework. This is his business. It is not a hobby. And he is learning. He's getting on-the-job training about so many different facets of the business. But yet his parents, they're not happy about it. He doesn't have that security. They're not seeing that regular paycheck come in every week and get deposited into his account. They don't understand because they have no frame of reference, because they worked for big companies and they did well and they moved up and they got their retirement benefits and, all the things. And that's not the path that he's taking. But yet my feeling is, if not now, when? It is harder to do something like that as we get older and we have responsibilities, although it's still possible because I'm living proof of that. But this is the time, right? When you're young, to explore all these different options. How great is it to do something that lights you up? This kid never stops talking about Pokemon and what he's learned and how much he paid for this and how much it's gone up in value and this show that he's attending and this online sale. All the things. He's doing it and he loves it. He absolutely loves it. Isn't that what we all want? I think that's a rhetorical question, because who wouldn't want to live a life by design that you love, where you're able to support yourself? If we keep thinking, and these younger kids keep thinking, that this is what they have to do. When I was on vacation a few weeks ago with my family, and my son Ben's girlfriend came with us, and at dinner one night we were talking. I don't even know how the career thing came up or in what context. And both my son and his girlfriend said, well, I'm going to do this for now, but I'm sure my second career will be this. And his girlfriend said, eventually, I want to do something like you do, where I'm not tied to that 9 to 5. And I'm thinking to myself, why do they think that has to be something down the road? They're both very practical people, and they're both very responsible people. And they're not like my other son's friend who has that entrepreneurial mindset, which is fine. Not everybody has it. But they have other ideas in mind, what they want to do next. My son says, well, I think eventually I probably will be a teacher. But for now, I want to try this corporate thing. And that's okay. And I think that he should. Whatever he wants to try, I think he should, because he shouldn't look back. If he truly is something he wants to try to see if he likes it, to see if he's successful, then he should. That's his desire. The other kid's desire is to build this Pokemon business. And I think that we should all be able to create a life that we love. Last night, actually, on, I think it was Netflix, I watched this movie, and I'm not sure of the name, but I think it was my Oxford year. And it wasn't really the movie that I thought it was going to be. It had a little bit of a heavy side to it, but a great message. And the girl in the movie built her life by design. At 10 or 10 3/4, as she tells us, she knew that she was going to go to a good school, a good college. I think in the movie she went to Cornell. And then she was going to spend a year in Oxford getting her master's degree. And then she was going to work for Goldman Sachs. She knew that because she knew, oh, Goldman Sachs, that's the pinnacle of success in the financial world. And that's what she did. At 11 years old, she set her mind to achieve that goal, that this was her idea of success. And she did it. She did all the things. She got a job at Goldman Sachs, and she was able to defer it a year so that she could go over to England, attend Oxford, and she was looking to do a degree in, like, I forget what kind of poetry it was, but some kind of poetry. And of course, through the circumstances of the movie, which I'm not going to share with you in case you want to watch it, she realizes that that's not the end-all be-all, right? A life working for Goldman Sachs, even though to some that might be the pinnacle of success, that's not what lit her up. And in the end, she changed paths. And I love that. I love that someone who was so focused for so many years was able to say, hey, maybe this isn't what I want. Maybe this isn't what lights me up. So we've got to shift our mindset to think that working that 9 to 5 or work in general equals dread, equals something we don't want to do. I remember at times having that Sunday night sickness feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's Monday already. Look, I still would like every day to be a weekend, kind of. But I think if that were the case, I know that sometimes when I'm on vacation, I'm like ready to get back to it, right? I'm ready to jump back in to what I do, separate from insurance, but I still am okay with that. And, see where I'm going to go next. Let me share with you, there is a Japanese framework, and I hope I'm going to pronounce it correctly, called Ikigai. And it asks you to explore or answer 4 different questions. What do I love? What am I good at? What can I be paid for? And what does the world need? And where these overlap, that's when you land on your Ikigai, which is your sweet spot, your reason for being. And I just love this. You make those lists, or even like in a Venn diagram, right? Where you see the overlap of 4 circles. And in that overlap, what do I love? What am I good at? What can I be paid for? And what does the world need? And just now, I hadn't really thought about it. What do I love? I love helping people. I love teaching. I love teaching. What am I good at? I think I'm good at those 2 things. I really do. What can I be paid for? Sure, I can be paid for that. And is it something that the world needs? I'd say so. The world always needs someone who can talk to you and give you an idea that expands your mind, that changes your thoughts, that opens you up to a new world of possibilities. And that's my goal, right? I'm here to tell you that regardless of where you are right now, regardless of how you think it's not possible for me to figure these things out and then do something about it. But that's why I'm here. This is my sweet spot. I'm here to show you by example that is not the case. There is always something you can do to move yourself in that direction of your Ikigai. We have to redefine that adulthood does not have to be a trap. It doesn't have to be a trap. It's only a trap if you let it become a trap. I hate to say it, but it's true. We've got to look in the mirror. Who did this? Who created this life? We did. Yeah, there are outside circumstances. Sure, there always are. This is life. But then we decide how we respond to those things. And so I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 20 or you're 70. There is always time. As long as you're breathing, you can do something to move yourself in the direction of a life that you desire. I'll tell you, I was on this is a couple of years ago when I first wrote my memoir, and I was on with some group. There was like 15 people, and most of the people were in their 70s and 80s, and they had written a book for the first time. At 80-something years old, they were first-time authors. They didn't say, I'm too old. They didn't say, I can't do this. I have nothing to share. Nope. They believed, and they did it. And so can you. So what's your Ikigai? I challenge you to answer those questions. See where they overlap. And then when you find out, what are you going to do about it? Again, what do I do? Oh no. What do I love? What am I good at? What can I be paid for? And what does the world need? Life after college, life after any big transition, even no transition. It could be age, the transition of getting older. It doesn't mean the end of freedom. It's always the beginning of choice. We have the choice to paint our lives and sprinkle them with loads of color. That's what I got for you today. Go out there and design the life you love. See you all next week.